Here we are again with the Scorpion Series podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. Today I'm joined by a rising professional fighter that's been dominating lately, really hitting new levels in his game. Something clicked mentally, and anyone that's been watching this gentleman perform in his last couple fights knows that he is coming for the people at the top. So without further ado, joining me today is Dante Brown.
What's up, brother? How's it going?
Dante, tell me a little bit about your background. For the people that don't know you, just go in a little bit into your history. How did you get into martial arts? You know, because I know that you started, during your younger years, and it's really transformed you as a human being. Kind of talk about what led you into the martial arts, and then how martial arts changed your life.
Oh, dude, martial arts was happened by complete accident. For people that don't know, I grew up pretty fat, overweight, got picked on a lot, got bullied. Wasn't very attractive, acne, all that good stuff, ugly duckling syndrome. And my grandma happened to go to a garage sale and find a Bruce Lee tape, and for no reason at all, just bought this tape for me and gave it to me. And I watched it, and I remember looking at the screen, and I was like, dude, I want to be that. He was so confident, and he walked in the room calm. He wasn't worried about anything. It's I want to be that guy. So I just started training myself. I was obsessed. Any book I could get a hold of, I would study, I would read it. I was that weird kid at school that would just be practicing kicks during lunch and everything. And at first people laughed. My friends laughed at me because here's this fat kid throwing side kicks and everything. But I just kept doing it. I didn't care. I didn't really care what anyone had to say. And after a while, it was kind of just he's not going to stop. Because at first everyone made fun of me, and then I just kept doing it. And they're like, all right, cool. So eventually people just started coming outside with me and hey man, show me what you're doing. And I would show people, and they're like, oh, that's cool. So I ended up kind of just teaching myself for years. I actually started my amateur career. My first 8 fights, I had no idea what jiu-jitsu was. I didn't know what wrestling was. My first fight, I remember getting taken down and looking at the ref hey, what's going on? Because I had no idea what MMA was. I actually learned about MMA through the first UFC game for the Xbox 360. And I remember telling my friend, I was like, dude, this game's awesome. I love this fighting game. I wish it was a sport. I wish it was real. And he's like, it is a real dummy. So I ended up trying it out, fell in love with it. And then I was just, the way that my amateur career kind of played out was if I could get someone, my whole goal was if I could knock someone out before they get me to the ground, I'm fine. So it was pretty much win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. And then I finally was all right, I wonder what happens if I put some jiu-jitsu in this. And when I first came to SFS, I didn't want to learn jiu-jitsu. My goal was I want to be able to stop a takedown and then get back up to my feet. I don't care about the ground at all. And you kind of tricked me a bit because you were just oh, yeah, bro, definitely. I'll help you get up to the ground. Next thing you know, I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in love with it, But, yeah, that's pretty much my start.
Take me back to your first fight, because I love hearing that story. That's super cool. I like that you followed your own path. You believed in what you were doing. Your first fight, how did you hear about the league? How did you sign up? What did you tell the people? You're not training at a gym, because in a lot of ways, we actually have a similar story. I'm a self-taught martial artist that was kind of doing my own thing too. I was the weirdo doing no gi when everybody was like, the gi is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was going, nah, I don't think I want the gi on. Talk us through that first fight. How did you take the fight? How did your parents react? What were your family's thoughts on it? And just, how did you hear about it? How did you sign up for your first fight?
So at the time, I was a line cook at Wild Wings down in South Carolina, and I had my own place. I just bought a motorcycle. I was living, the life that we were supposed to be living and everything, but I was miserable. I hated it. I hated going to work every single day. I just felt so empty every single day. I would come home, and then I ended up playing that video game with my friend, and I was like, I want to do this. So I looked around, and at that time, MMA wasn't sanctioned in South Carolina. The closest fight that you could get was around North Carolina, and even then they had a really weird rules. You can't hit to the ground, anything like that. And so I called up my uncle who lived in Detroit, and I was like, hey man, I'm thinking about trying MMA. And he's like, really? Are you serious? I was like, yeah. He's like, have you trained? I was like, no. He's like, but are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, it's sanctioned up here. If you want, come up here. You'll stay with me, and we'll figure things out. So packed all, literally told my friends, I was like, hey, dude, I'm leaving for Michigan. I'm just going to try this MMA thing out. And they're like, dude, you've never you've never done this. Like, these are killers. I was like, yeah. There's like, yeah, but you practice like kicks at the lunch, at lunch. Like, you're not ready for this, dude. These are athletes. And I was like, yeah, but if I don't try, I'll never know. And so my friends were like, dude, this is a bad idea. My family, my sisters were like, this is a bad idea. You're literally going to a state where you're not going to be around anyone, no one that you know, for a dream that you just found out about like a week ago. You didn't even know that this existed a week ago, and you're about to pack up and leave. I was like, well, I feel like I'm dying here. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this 9-to-5 thing. Like, I have to try something. Like, I felt like I was meant for more. So I drove all my stuff up here, crashed with my uncles, start hitting up every league by myself. Like, hey, I'm 0-0. Like, I'm independent. And they're like, sure. Because back then, like, Michigan was just like a gun show. It's like, if you show up, you get a fight. That's it. And half the time you even know that you're fighting. So I got my first fight, and I showed up completely by myself. And I, like, didn't know anything about weigh-ins or anything. And at that time, I was walking around, like, 154. So, like, I stepped on the scale. I was like, this is weird. Like, it's like, oh, like I didn't know anything about weights or anything. I just stepped on the scale, and they're like, 154. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. I guess I'm a lightweight. And I remember getting in the cage, and I was like, this is it? Like, I was like, I don't know. I didn't have any worries. It was weird. It was just like, it just kind of felt like this was home. Like, I just kept thinking about, like, man, everyone kept saying this is a bad idea. Like, if I lose, like, everyone's going to be like, I told you, dude. I told you. And I went out there and I fought, and I got taken down after, like, I think it was like in the second round or so. Got taken down, and the guy managed to get to my back and choke me. And I remember losing and walking out of the cage. I was completely by myself. At that point, my uncle was coming to pick me up, and I was backstage, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. I was like, I'll get him next time. And I just had that mentality, like, I'll get you next time, dude. Like, you got me, whoop-de-doo. And I think what helped me with my confidence in that is I don't know why, but I honestly felt like no one could stand up with me striking. And, like, that was my mindset. Like, you took me down. That's how you beat me. So if you were to strike with me, I'd beat you every time. So with that mindset, I literally just kept fighting. No gym, no training, just kept fighting. And anytime I took a loss, I was like, you had to shoot. You had to shoot, buddy. So, yeah, that's pretty much my origins of MMA.
Man, I love hearing this. And there's actually a lot of common denominators in many fighter stories. So like Parisian, his background story, he did the identical thing. He had this dream. He stumbled upon mixed martial arts, started training at a place at Escanaba, and just made the decision. This is what I'm going to do with my life. He packed up, I forget what vehicle he had at the time. He always tells the story. He completely loaded up his vehicle, drove downstate, I think to live with an uncle, and said, like, I am going to be a fighter. And now, as you know, he fights for his UFC contract next month. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in under 1 month. It's like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, it's really close.
You know what I mean? And so he's a story of success from a very similar background. I mean, he didn't really play a lot of sports growing up. He was the fat kid that a lot of people gave, they just didn't think he was going to amount to something. And he is proving all of them wrong now. You know what I mean? The number one ranked heavyweights in the state of Michigan and crushing his goals. And I, in a lot of ways, have a similar story because of the fact that, I just started telling my parents and everybody, they're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do jiu-jitsu. I'm going to fight. And they're going, there's not a future in that. That's like something you do for a hobby. That's like you know what I mean? Like, go to work, make money, have fun with your friends in your free time. You know what I mean? And like, there's just something about trendsetters or people that are willing to not take into account what other people think of them. You know what I mean? Like, not taking into account what people say are your expectations. That opens the future for you. Because if you would have listened to your family or the people that you worked with or your friends, you wouldn't be sitting here today, a 4-1 professional fighter that just got back from training with Stephen Thompson in the UFC from Upstate Karate, and that's been on an absolute tear lately. You've been running through people. The ground and pound that you put on what was his name? Bo Vincent.
Yeah, Bo Vincent.
Oh, my God. Anyone that watched that fight, if you haven't watched that fight, go and look up that fight. Not many people are lining up to fight you after that.
Yeah.
And the great thing is you watched multiple teammates now, get their opportunity. So it's within grasp for you. You're like, it's right there. I have to make a couple more big wins. And you're a finisher.
Yeah.
People love that about you. If you had to describe your fight style, because I loved hearing you took me down, you took the easy way out, but I'll put your lights out if we're on the feet. Yeah. If you had to describe your fight style now, not where you were before, how would you describe Dante the fighter?
I mean, everyone knows about my striking at this point. I feel like I don't know. I have just this calm. I think my calm comes from like I have so much faith in like my level of striking, and it kind of like makes me even happier that people are so afraid to stand on the feet with me because I taught myself how to strike. Like I didn't do like any like traditional martial arts until I came to SFS like 7 years ago, and then it was like jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I feel like my style now has evolved because like back then it was literally just I'm trying to knock you out, like don't take me down. To now it's like okay, like good luck getting me down. Two, what are you gonna do once you got me down? If you look at my last 3 fights, they all have the same game plan, and I beat them in the exact same ways. Like Bo, awesome Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, pulled guard on me. I smashed him in his guard, finished him in his guard. Kevin Walker shot a takedown, reversed the takedown, smashed him on the ground. And then my last fight, Andrew Carson, he shot in on me and clinched and finished him in 26 seconds with 2 shots to the body. So
Yeah,
it's
those
like
knees.
it's almost like I'm letting people hang themselves. Like it's like okay, like I know you're not gonna stand with me. You can say I'm gonna knock him out. You can do all that. So I know, like, come on, dude. As soon as you have any sign of trouble, you're gonna shoot on me, and I'm prepared for that. I just got thrown around by a gorilla named Cody Brunage, Ty Wilmore. Like I'm all right, bro. Come shoot. I want you to, because even if there's some Christmas miracle, you get me to the ground. Good luck dealing with my jiu-jitsu.
Who was the gentleman that you fought at the Motor City Casino that you threw that straight left, and it was one of the most like beautiful knockouts I've seen. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
It's Dustin Babbler.
Dustin Babbler.
Yeah.
That fight changed your career trajectory because
yeah.
when people watched that knockout, that straight left hand, that Connor looking, the second you smashed him with that straight left, he went down like he got shot in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, just crumbled. I think you shattered his nose. He was hospitalized after that fight, and people took notice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You almost flew under the radar before that point. You were good. You were an amateur champion, and then you know what I mean. You were about to go pro. You're about to go pro, but people weren't giving you the respect that you deserved. You went out there in that Motor City fight, took the center of the cage, arms wide, boom, sat him down, and like it really something shifted in you shortly into your pro career, and I watched an evolution of a completely new Dante Brown.
Yeah.
Like the Dante that sits before me today would crush the Dante that that existed a year ago.
Yeah.
You really have leveled up that much. So let's have a little bit of forward thinking in this interview. You're a 4-1 professional fighter now. You had a good amateur career, tons of experience. You held amateur titles here in the state of Michigan, WXC, and you were well known as an amateur as well. What does the future look like for you? What are your goals? If you could have a fight with any organization, is it the typical UFC path? Do you want to hit like the Asian scene?
Yeah.
Like, just tell us a little bit about the future and your goals.
Well, when I first started doing martial arts, when I was like 14, when I was practicing kicks by myself, for some reason I had like this dream of like fighting in Japan. Like that's my end goal. Like if I get to the UFC, that's cool and all this other stuff, but like I want to fight in Japan. It's on my bucket list. I've accomplished so much stuff in my life, and that's the only thing that's just like lingering, that's driving me insane because I'm so close. So yeah, that's like right now, that's goal number 1. It's just getting one fight in Japan. Then from there, I'll go anywhere, fight anywhere. I just got to do that first.
Shingo with Ryzen. We are absolutely, mega fans of Ryzen here. We've been treated unbelievably well every time we've gone out there. We've had Tim Struth out in Japan, Alicia Zapatel against Kana Asakura, an unbelievable fight. Tabitha Watkins went out to Japan. I'm telling you right now, the gentleman sitting across from me, he is dynamic, explosive, looks for violent knockouts. This is the guy you want to get over to Ryzen. You want to bring him in to fight especially one of your striking stars, and you're going to have a battle for the ages.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Dude.
Listen, I'm going to send this interview to Shingo, and I'm going to tell you right now, this man has been telling me for 5+ years that his dream is to fight in Japan. He will come over there and throw down and put on a performance that's going to leave the Japanese audience just speechless. You know what I mean?
Like I'm coming there. Like if I get that opportunity after so many years of trying this, like I'm not going there to try to lose. I'm going there to just dominate. Like I want them to be like, where the hell has this kid been? Where does he come from? Like I want that response. I don't want to be like, oh, cool decision, whatever. I'm trying to finish people, man.
And for people that don't know Dante outside of this, he's a Twitch streamer. He's huge into gaming. He's massive into anime. He likes cartoons. He's got, Venom and the Joker and many different, characters on tattoos. He lives that lifestyle of a martial artist and someone that embraces himself to the fullest. So almost the environment in Japan is perfect for you.
Yeah.
That's like I could see you walking out in costume in the massive arena, you know what I mean, the Saitama Super Arena, and going out there and pulling off a unbelievable knockout and just becoming a megastar in Japan. Like I can see that taking place. Shingo, I'm telling you right now, yeah, I'm going to be reaching out to you. You're going to be listening to this interview going, wow, James did exactly what he said. So let's talk a little bit about 2020. Well, yeah, you know what? We'll go right into 2020. It's been an incredibly difficult year for everybody, for just across the board. It doesn't matter what aspect of this society you know you're in. You've been hit by 2020. Talk a little bit about what 2020 has been like for you. Any issues that you think we should address? Obviously, there's some that have been beat to death that we might just avoid because we're trying to talk about the future. We're trying to talk about moving forward. But just, man, how's 2020 been? How are you mentally? Where are you at ready to compete? Things like that.
I mean, personally, 2020 has actually been pretty dope.
It's funny. Alicia was on the podcast the other day. She said the same thing. She said, hey, listen, I know 2020's been kind of rough for a lot of people, but I'm about to fight for a world title.
Yeah, the world's on fire. Everyone's mad at each other, but I've had a dope 2020, man. I got to do something that I thought I would never, ever do, and that was, like, go down to Upstate Karate and train with the Thompsons. And, like, that was, like, such a big thing for me. Just personally as a martial artist, because like I always get compliments about my striking, but like I almost felt like I was in a bubble. Like I didn't want to be like that big fish in a small pond, you know what I'm saying? So for me to go down there, and I was like, okay, now this is the real test. Like these are like some of the best strikers in the world. I want to see what I can do. And I went down there, and like they gave me mad respect. They gave me mad compliments. You know, they were just saying, like, you know, for someone that was self-taught, like, you're an excellent striker. And, you know, and hearing that from Ray Thompson himself, who is just built champion after champion, like, I don't know. I felt good. So I got to do that, and everything's just been, like, really chill, man. And I finally have, like, a place of my own that, you know, I can just settle down in. Like, I just moved into Pinckney again. So, like, it's been good for me, but yeah, the world's falling apart right now, and I feel bad, but it's hard for me to like kind of be down about it. You know what I'm saying?
You're really focused on yourself. You're focused on your goals. You're focused on the future. I mean, because like you said, if you wanted to look for pain and suffering and difficulty and stress, you could find it everywhere right now. Every single day you could wake up in the morning and feel more discouraged and more broken down and have bad energy coming into your life. But you're just not. You're just shedding it. You're going, you know what, man? I need to get to Japan. I need to go knock somebody out overseas. I need to get a huge contract. I need to change my life. I need to continue being this example of the person that I said I was going to be. When I initially told my family and I told those coworkers and I told all my friends, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and I've been trying to stay out of like the whole social media thing, but like I kind of got drawn into it because like racism for me is like hits home. Very close because like I come from people that don't know. I come from a mixed family, and like my own grandma, the one that raised me, she's blonde hair, blue eyes. She was dating black guys in the '60s, so she got kicked out of her own family and all that, and like for her to like have my mom and not be able to take my mom into a store, you know, and all that, and growing up and seeing all that, and then like living with my grandma for so long and being in a white only neighborhood and having the cops called on me because I'm skateboarding in the street, and they're like, this kid shouldn't be here. And she's like, this is my grandson, you know? So stuff like that. So, you know, racism definitely bothers me, but I've been trying to avoid it because I was just like, for the longest, I was like, racist people are just racist. They're just dumb. But what I noticed on social media is there's a lot of people, a lot of good people that I care about deeply that were posting just terrible things, you know, horrible things. And in my mind, I was like, these guys aren't racist. I know them. I hung out. I've gone to barbecues with their family. I know that they're not racist. I realized that a lot of people aren't racist. They're just horribly misinformed about the other side of life. You know, there's just things that they don't know that they're speaking on, and that's where the issues start. And a trend that I wish would stop that I've been seeing a lot is that instead of people going and saying like, oh, I'm not racist, and doing this and whatnot, I've been seeing people post like just random things, like trying to almost like demonize black people. Like instead of just being like, okay, there's a problem with race in this country, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on like, look, this kid is stealing out of the store. Oh, look, this kid just shot this kid. And it's like, yeah, but I could also do that too. I can bring up videos of any race committing any crime at any time. That doesn't fix the issue. Like, how is you trying to demonize these like young men? Like, okay, what they did was horrible. I'm not like that. I know tons of people are not like that. So what's your end goal of you posting this?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It almost undercuts the message. It's like, oh, yeah, well, you're trying to speak out in support of this, but what about this?
Yeah.
There's just a strange thing in our culture where that drives me nuts, where whenever there's like a certain thing being debated, people can't stay on the debate and just interact with that challenging information. They always bring in like, oh, yeah, well, what about? That is a separate issue. And then like, you know what? We both may agree that like that needs to be combated too. Yeah. But right now we're speaking about this. If I asked you, Dante, how do we solve this math problem? And you said, oh, yeah, James, what about the English problems that are out there? And what about the world history problems?
English don't matter?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Oh, Jesus, you only care about math? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's like social media has made people lose touch with reality. What we have to do is we have to work through complex problems together as people and sort out the difference between bad human beings and good human beings, bad actions and good actions, and pull things apart and figure out what are real issues and what is being inflated by the media, what is not being talked about enough, what other aspects of society need to be addressed more, because we should all be doing our part to try to make the world a little bit better for the people that live in it, right? But the idea that, oh, well, you have a concern. Oh, yeah, well, I have this concern. So until mine gets fixed, yours isn't getting fixed.
Yeah.
How does that help anyone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If anything, imagine if you have this big thing that you're upset about, but you go to battle with somebody else to fix one issue. You help them do that. They're probably going to be more likely to help you work on the issue that you want to address.
Absolutely.
It all comes back to people coming together. You and I had a talk the other day off the podcast where we talked for almost 30 minutes about issues like this. Yeah. And we don't have to reiterate them over and over, but we both were just saying that, man, what it takes good people coming together of every color, of every creed, of every status, of every... Get away from the nonsense. Stop buying into all the rhetoric that's shoved down our throats. And we need to come together and be honest. We need to come together and be like, this is not acceptable. We're going to work to fix this. We're all against police brutality.
Yeah.
If you're not against police brutality, you're only not against it until it happens to you.
Yeah.
Or until it happens to your wife.
Yeah.
Or your daughter. Or anything like that. And then you would be just as strongly against police brutality. So how could any human being not be against police brutality? Do you want police beating the hell out of somebody? You should be against that. But so many times, there's this idea of like, well, it's not really happening to me. It's not a focus. Yeah. It's happening to you, just a different version of you that might have a different skin color or live in a different location. That's still a human being in this area getting the shit beat out of them. That's not acceptable. I just had a podcast with a police officer the other day, and I said, are you against police brutality? And he's like, of course. Why would I not be against police, being brutal to people? But we have to be really careful to not stereotype police the way that we shouldn't stereotype people, of any color or any religion. So it gets into really having to have honest, challenging conversations about these difficult issues without just yelling at one another.
Exactly. And something, I did watch that podcast with that officer. He's a really good guy. But something that I heard him say that kind of like worried me a bit was like when you asked him about protocol for situations, he said that there's no universal protocol for some situations, which is terrifying. So that means that I get it, like you have to improvise. Every situation is going to be different. Like I get that. But the issue is when that improvisation doesn't work, you need something to fall back on not to bring up MMA or jiu-jitsu or anything, but like the blueprint of Kimura, it's always going to be the same. Like there's a million ways I can set it up. I have to improvise. I'm not always going to get the Kimura the same way, but I'm always going to finish it the same way. So I feel like how is there not a universal, like across the board, like we tried this, this doesn't work. We need, okay, this is our last resort. This is what we're going to do. And every officer should follow that. But to say like, it's like, at our own discretion, like that worries me.
100%. And not only that, but you could, since you listen to the podcast, a couple points when he was saying, well, I just need probable cause. Well, I just need this. Well, technically, there's so many gray areas that he wouldn't completely agree with me when I was trying to get him to say it. But basically, they have almost absolute power. They can say, well, I had this suspicion or I had that. And that's where things start getting blurred because that's where you can start violating people. You know what I mean? I can just say, you know what? I smelled alcohol, so I drugged this guy out of his car. I searched the thing. I did this. And, I found this. And you open you open a can of worms when there's not clearly defined laws and protocols. You know what I mean? Where if I'm not speeding, you had no reason to pull me over. You shouldn't even be able to detain me at that point.
Yeah.
But he said, just really any suspicion at all. You know what I mean? And what it shows is, just by having that conversation with me and him, a good cop might not violate people, but a bad cop could effortlessly always just violate whatever things, whatever laws he wants, whatever rights he wants, and he could just back it with, I had this suspicion, I saw that, I deemed this reasonable, and we need to have a higher level of accountability. Why is it that, like, body cameras never work whenever there's an issue that needs to be looked back at? You know what I mean? They work anytime the police want to show them. But when you have an extremely controversial issue where a body camera footage would be so telling in an unedited format, we don't want to see any one version. We want to see what took place. It's just not available.
Yeah.
Sorry that one day the battery died. It was so bizarre. These things aren't acceptable. And I believe that everybody, even, like I said, the police officer that I sat down and spoke with, I believe he would be for that type of reform. We just need to have those honest conversations and separate, because now all of a sudden we have movements like ACAB. All cops are bastards.
I disagree with that. I strongly disagree with that.
That is stereotyping in the most... that's the quintessential example of stereotyping a group of people. We can't do that, okay? Then defund the police and abolish the police. And I know all of a sudden they're going to back it with, well, we don't really mean defund it. We mean restructure it. That's funny because just yesterday, Governor Whitmer, I don't know if you read this, she pulled millions and millions and millions of dollars from state corrections and state police. I think it's over $400 million.
That's crazy.
That, my friends, is defunding.
Yeah,
okay, so anyone that's saying, well, they don't mean defund, they mean reform. They don't mean reform. They mean defund. We need to do a better job at training people in difficult situations. Because imagine, let's say you or I were good people. Imagine if every single day you had to put on a uniform and you had to go out and interact with people that are breaking some laws, that are not living their best lives, that are getting into trouble, there are going to be people that are doing bad things. Bad people do exist. And now you have to interact with them every single day. Yeah. But you're under a scrutiny where now all of society is saying, you're the bastard. No matter what, you're wrong. We have to be honest. There's bad people. Police can be effective, but we need to work together to make sure that we are not profiling.
Yeah.
We're not treating people a certain way based on race. We are holding those cops accountable. I had a long conversation with my cousin Shane, who's an officer in Philadelphia. I was telling you about this a little bit. And he's like, listen, I know bad cops exist, but they're not easy to bust. Like, they're not dumb. They're not just out there, like, horribly violating rights in a way that they're going to get caught. He's like, they do, excuse my language, but they do fucked up shit, but they know the way that the process works, so they kind of work within the system to not get caught. And he's like, so it's really difficult. You can't take someone down without evidence. Yeah. So now you have a person that specializes in being able to attain evidence. They know how everything's recorded. They know how their interactions are followed. And they're working within these little loopholes, so it's hard to get them. Because I said the same thing to Shane. I was like, dude, why aren't bad cops just, like, thrown off the force? Yeah. Because why do police want this bad rep? And he's like, dude, it's difficult. He's like, because you can't fire someone for just being an asshole. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's like, unfortunately, the assertive personality kind of works good for police. Yeah. So you have to discern the difference between a bad officer and just like, this guy's kind of an asshole, but he's doing his job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had a run-in with cops. I think the most insane run-in I ever had was I actually leaving a CVS with my girlfriend at the time. We were both like 21, 22, and getting stopped by the cop as I'm pulling into CVS. And long story short, I almost end up with a kidnapping charge against me. Yeah. So let me rewind what happened. We went to the CVS to go get snacks to watch some anime. We pull out of the CVS. As soon as we pull out of the CVS, he flicks his lights on, and he like immediately aggressive. Like, hey, officer, how's it going? Like, license, registration, blah, blah, blah. Where are you coming from? I was like, CVS, like, I just saw you. Like, you just pulled me over. And he's like, are you sure you're lying to me? Because I saw you come a different way. I was like, no, officer, I definitely came out. He's like, no, I saw you come another way. He's like, so you're lying to me. He's like, step out of the car. So I stepped out of the car and, like, instantly, like, frisked me. You got any drugs, weapon on it? No, officer, I don't. He's like, all right, put your hands behind your back. And I was like, am I getting arrested? Like, did I do something wrong? He's like, I'll tell you in a second. Put your hands behind your back. He puts handcuffs on me, puts me in the back of his squad car, goes around to my passenger, pulls my girlfriend out, And I'm in the back of the car for like 45 minutes just getting questioned about, do I have any gang affiliation? Do I have any drugs on me? Do I know anyone that sells drugs? I'm like, no, officer, no. And I have a squeaky record clean. Like, I don't even have a jaywalking ticket on my record. Lucky me. And I see them talking to my girlfriend, and like I'm in the back of this car for like 45 minutes, just handcuffed, just chilling. And I can see them questioning her. And at one point, she just starts crying, like freaking out and all this other stuff. So officer friend tells me to he's like, I'm gonna let you go, but if I see you back out tonight, I'm gonna arrest you. I was like, are you saying that I can't leave my house? Like, did I do something wrong? He's like, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if I see you out again, I'm pulling you back over.
For what?
So this is where it gets interesting. So I get in the car, I'm driving. My girlfriend at the time was like so hysterical, she couldn't even talk. We finally get home after like a while, she calms down. And I asked her like, what the officer was asking you? And she's like, they kept asking me if you sold drugs. They kept asking me if you were part of gangs or anything like that. And like I kept telling them like, no, you're my boyfriend and all sorts of stuff. And the officer's like, are you sure that's your boyfriend? And she's like, yeah. And he was like, are you positive? And she's like, why do you keep asking? He's like, are you here against your will? Like, is he forcing you to be in the vehicle? And she's like, no. He's like, well, I saw you out of the CVS. So he clearly saw us coming out of CVS. He's like, I saw you out of the CVS. You look concerned, and I was worried about you. So I pulled you over. She's like, why did I look concerned and worried? And apparently what he told her was, well, he's like, you're a pretty girl. Like, at that point, the girl I was seeing, she's like 110 pounds, beautiful, blonde haired, blue eyed. Like, I've been team white girls all my life. Ooh, team white girls. So, ooh, team white girls.
Oh my God. We got that on video.
Yeah. So apparently the officer did not believe that someone that looked like her was with me of her free will. So the officer was trying to tell her, like, if there's, like, has he ever hit you? Has he ever done this? And she's like, no. Like, it's like, he's done nothing to me. He's a nice guy. And he's like, okay, like, he's like, if you just say the word, we'll take him away. You don't ever have to see him again. And she's like, I like this guy, like, stop. So they were trying to, like, get her to say anything so they could harass me for kidnapping my own girlfriend as I'm taking her to the store to get her candy. Like,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
man.
that happened when I was 22. That was like 10 years ago. I'll never forget that. But like, I remember telling all my friends about it, and they're like, fuck those police, like, fuck police, blah, 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 blah. This is why I hate cops and all this other stuff. And I was like, honestly, dude, I was like, the other cops were kind of looking at this guy like, what are you doing? I was like, that guy sucked, but like the other cops didn't suck. And he's like, well, dude, you like, that's your issue. Like, you don't really get mad about much and whatever, like, all cops are like that. And I was like, no, that guy's like that. I was like, that guy's probably going to be like that forever, like, but like putting a uniform on doesn't mean like, okay, I just get to hurt people now. And like, that's what people got to realize. Like, everyone sucks, and it's a flawed system because you're taking flawed human beings and then putting them in charge of other flawed human beings and expect everything to be smooth. And that's not going to work. Cops have bad days just like everyone else. They're human beings. So, I mean, I think the issue is, honestly, we just need better screening. We need
more accountability.
Exactly. Like, if they were able to get in trouble for the things they were doing other than like,
slap on the wrist.
Yeah, like that one cop that killed George Floyd had 18, complaints against him, and he was still on the force. Or there's this thing that goes on where they get in trouble at one department and then they just get transferred to a different one. And it's like, we need to look into that. Like, that guy, if he was a problem for you in Detroit, he's going to be a problem for you in Southgate. Like,
I bet you, thinking from the outside, like, how can that possibly happen? What probably happens is, let's say someone that's being charged with a criminal crime files, something against a police officer. I bet you they just don't take it very serious. They go, well, of course they're going to complain about, this or that. They're a criminal.
Yeah.
But when there's a reoccurring pattern where everybody that's interacting with a police officer 18 times is saying that there's a problem here, we have to have a system in place to really monitor that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what like body cameras and stuff have the capability of doing. If there was a regular program in which people would evaluate their stops and watch how they interact with people. Because when I'm hearing your story, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's crazy to experience. And I've experienced some wild stuff with police as well because I put my foot down too much and I get a little bit too passionate at certain times. But what I would say is like people that have never experienced something like that, can't even grasp what that would be like to be, because if that wasn't a gentleman in a uniform, imagine if it was a guy off the street that came up and started being like, "Why are you with her? What are you doing?"
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Get the like, what are you? I'm gonna smack you upside the head.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you?" You know what I mean? So you have these police that have authority, and society tells you better listen to them, or else, or you're the bad person. So now all of a sudden you're having to follow this authority. You did a better job than me. I would have been like, I'd have been running my mouth nonstop. Like, what is wrong with you? And that's probably where things would get escalated a ton, because I would feel like you are violating not even just my rights. You're being such a piece of shit human being right now that like it would just send me over the top. And you know what? That's where you might go, you know what, I'm not going to risk that, because I'm not going to worry about, will this dude shoot me? Or I don't even have that thought.
Yeah.
Not that it couldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had police bust in my home without showing me a warrant. Brian Fornicero was over. They literally knocked on my door at 11:30 at night because I put I got stopped. The guy had no reason to stop me. I fought him the whole time back and forth. He was like, license and registration, so I gave it to him. He told me, your license is expired. Yeah. And I'm like, look at the date. It's not expired. He's like, this could be a fake. I mean, he went so extreme. The whole it was a mess. Anyone that remembers from my past, I put this whole story up. The former prosecuting attorney for the state former prosecuting attorney for our area wanted to do a lawsuit against the Michigan State Police because of how horrible it was handled. Anyway, he didn't listen to anything. The guy, he said, you could have made this at home. I don't know that this is real. Show me the receipt from when you got this from the Secretary of State. Why would I have that?
No.
Funny thing is, I dug through my glove compartment with Bobby in the car for probably 20 minutes, and I found the receipt from when I paid to have my license, which like I must have just thrown it in there. Yeah. So then I started laughing, like, "Oh my God, I found it!" So anyway, even after all this goes, well, you know what? My computer doesn't say that, so I'm going to tow your vehicle. You need to get a ride. After all this, the dude just violated every single part of the process. So I make a social media post about it. It goes like viral. It gets hundreds of shares. Someone that knows him from the video tags him in it. All these people are like, that guy's a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like So I'm like, oh God. So anyway, it's like a couple months later, I'm supposed to leave for Brazil in the morning with Brian, which is why Brian's there. I'm going to my first fight in Brazil. So I've been posting all about it on social media. 11 o'clock at night, I get a knock at my door. I'm like, what in the world? We're sitting down. We had already trained that night. We're watching The Ultimate Fighter. I'm just in grappling shorts and the dogs are downstairs. Literally, I open the front door. It's this Michigan State police officer with another guy without showing a warrant, nothing. They busted into my home. Yeah. And I'm like, what are you? And I start laughing. I'm like, are you nuts, dude? You remember how bad it went when you stopped me for absolutely no reason? You know what I mean? And like everybody said, you're so out of line. I took no action against it. He put me in handcuffs in my living room, threatened to shoot my dog because my dogs were freaking out. You just busted in my home. You're lucky my dog didn't bite you. Yeah. And then if you would have shot my dog, I would have fought you. You probably would have shot me. One of us would have died right there. Yeah. There would have been a death in that place. And you know, anyone that's listening to that, if I sound crazy out of line by saying that, if someone breaks into your home, it doesn't matter if they're wearing a uniform or not. If they break in your home with a deadly weapon and threaten to kill a member of your family, you might not react the same way I would, but I don't feel bad about that at all. You shoot my dog, I'm going to attack you. You'll probably shoot me. It is what it is. Yeah. It is what it is. With that all being said, I asked Brian, hey, will you film this interaction? They screamed at him that he couldn't film it. Brian recorded all the audio. It was the most extreme example ever. Yeah. And after it all calms down, the gentleman brought up, I saw your Facebook post. And I'm going, this is that personal. This is going to that idea that, there's flawed human beings out there. He then took me out to the car to show me the warrant, which he couldn't find. His computer wouldn't load. That's my favorite excuse ever now. My computer won't load. But anyway, he said it's because I had an unpaid parking ticket from 6 years earlier that turned into a warrant in a city that I had never been to in my entire life.
Oh, how convenient.
How convenient. And just shockingly, the computer wouldn't pull it up.
Yeah. It's weird that it didn't pull it up earlier when he stopped you originally.
Oh, super bizarre. Yeah. I know. But anyway, what I'm saying is so I've had my rights violated to the fullest. But here's what I want people that are listening to take from this and from Dante's story. I still support police. Yeah. I still support good police. I still am super proud to know good officers that are actually out there defending our community and trying to do the right thing. And maybe that guy had the worst day of his life, and when he pulled me over there, I gave him an attitude because he pulled me over for no reason. It just set him off. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is I still support good police. I still support people trying to do the right thing. But I've experienced people violating my rights to the fullest. You know what I mean? So I know that there's good and bad. But how does knowing there's good and bad in life turn into let's defund all the police, let's abolish the police force, let's allow autonomous zones in states, let's pull funding from people that already have a tough job, or all cops are bastards? That's one that bothers me the most. I actually had a podcast with another woman where we talked about all cops are bastards, and she was pushing that ideology. And I was saying, like, where's my cousin fit into that?
Yeah.
He's a great man, great husband, great human being, great father. How's he fit? Well, I'm just, why doesn't he fix the police? Why doesn't he do things to stop bad police? It's like, listen, that's a difficult prospect, okay? You'd have to follow the person around that was out there violating people and bust them yourself. You're doing your own job.
Yeah.
You're on the clock. You know what I mean? So, like, I think, and I'm starting to rant. And I'm gonna reel this in because I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it.
Yeah.
But we just need to be honest.
Yeah.
We need to be honest. We need to have real conversations. We need to come together, and we need to try to come up with solutions. You know what I mean? Because you would have a completely different perspective if you and I were both officers, and we both knew we were out there trying to do our best, and we know that bad officers exist, but we also know that criminals exist. We also know that, like, someone could try to, if you're an officer and you try to stop someone, they might have a gun. They may try to kill you. There are instances where you may have to take someone's life. Some people are never going to want to hear that. I would never want someone to ever take someone's life, even on their worst day. But there's incidents where it might have to happen.
Yeah.
So we got to come together right now, and we need to have these type of conversations and have people like you tell your story.
Because, like, I mean, I have a lot of good positive stories with cops, too, man. I had a cop, I had my motorcycle break down on me once in the middle of, like, a rainstorm, and here I am rolling this motorcycle down the road in the middle of the night. Cop comes behind me, turns on the lights. I'm like, oh, God, he's probably thinking, like, I'm stealing his bike, And he comes out, he's like, hey, man, you having trouble? I'm like, yeah, officer. I was like, my bike died on me, has a bad starter on it. I was like, sometimes if I push it, it'll start up. This cop sat out in the rain with me for 30 minutes to help me push start my bike. And then to help me, he's like, does it die out on you when you're riding? I was like, sometimes it does. He's like, all right, this is what I'll do. I'll follow you for a bit. So he turns on his lights and gets behind me and just follows me for like a little bit. And then he waves and just takes off like nothing happened, turns his lights back off to make sure I got back on the road safely. That was cool. I mean, I had one cop in Ann Arbor stop me one time. I didn't have insurance on my car because my car is like literally just falling apart on me. And he stopped me. He's like, hey, man, I noticed your tag was expired. And I was like, yeah, officer. He's like, well, I see that it's renewed. You just got to put the sticker on. He's like, you got insurance or anything? And I was like, honestly, officer, I don't. And he like looks at my car and he's like, I don't blame you. He's like, I personally don't give a shit because your car, not to be mean, is terrible, but it's in the state of Michigan, it's required. He's like, I'm not gonna ticket you or anything. Just head home. He's like, just try to avoid other officers. If he's like, I'm gonna write this out to you. He wrote me out like a little warning thing. He's like, if anyone stops you, just show them this so you can get home safe. He's like. Good dude.
That right there, man.
Yeah.
It's showing the balance. There's bad people and there's good people across every single walk of life, every religion. So, man, society, stop stereotyping. Mm-hmm. Stop trying to demonize colors, professions, ideologies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I know people that are diehard Trump supporters that are amazing human beings. I know people that think Trump is the Antichrist that are amazing human beings.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're never going to get good resolution until people come together. You know what I mean? Until we sit down and we go, okay, we're making, like someone that believes Trump is the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. You've made that man a symbol of everything you hate in this country, probably this world, mm-hmm. in other people, in the way that certain people act. You're like, that guy's the reason. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. That's just not real. And people that are diehard Trump supporters that he can do no wrong and he literally floats across the ground. Stop. He's a human being. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to try his best. He's got business experience. It's his first run in major politics. He became president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Do you know the pressure that comes with being a president of the United States of America during a pandemic?
I would not want that job, dude. I would be insane.
Absolutely not. I was watching the White House briefings that some of them are 3 hours long. He was doing them nearly daily, almost every single day during a pandemic, and getting berated by, reporters just trying in any way possible to pull one sound bit to make him out to be, told you he was the Antichrist. You know what I mean? And it's just so absurd. I wouldn't even have done the press conferences. I'd been like, you know what? One of my secretaries can reveal the information that we're going over here and take it or leave it, because you got people just trying to bastardize someone versus whether you like it or not, he's the president of the United States of America, the country that you live in. Shouldn't you want him to be successful? You know what I mean? Like, at least until he's out of office. If you want him out of office, fine. But don't you want him to do a good job while he's in office and try to complement the things he does well? And then maybe all of a sudden, if you back the things that he does well, you could say, hey, but you know what? We really disagree on this. And we really think that, this needs to be addressed. He might be more willing to listen to you. Yeah. You don't get to walk up to someone and go, hey, asshole, I think you're a piece of shit. But the way that I would like you to change is they're not going to listen to you. Cut the communication immediately. And we've lost respect. Because, I'm watching White House briefings in general. I'm watching reporters interrupt the president of the United States. Were we raised in a country that taught us that? You didn't even interrupt your teacher. Can you imagine, rewind the clock back to being like a fifth grade kid, thinking that one day you grew up to be a reporter and you're going to interrupt the president of the United States of America?
Yeah.
What has happened, dude? We need to get back to honor. We need to get back to respect. We need to get back to honesty. We need to get back to challenging conversation. And we need to get the emotions out of it. We need to start pulling the emotions of how you feel or the events that have happened in the past. You actually had such a good point before we talked on the podcast last time we were speaking, where you said sometimes when I got pulled over by the police, I was holding so much pain and past experience that immediately the interaction was horrible. And I've done the same thing. I've gotten you know what? That officer that I just cited earlier in the story, I had already had officers pull me over for dumb. So when he pulled me over and I knew I was not I knew there was nothing wrong. I was already pissed off. Yeah. I'm like, why did you stop me, idiot? You know what I mean? So it instantly caused tension. And right now you have two different sides on so many arguments that already are so fueled and angry and frustrated and mask or no mask.
Oh my God, that is
Republican or Democrat, this or that. People are so unbelievably angry. Now all of a sudden, all I have to do to be a good human being is put on a mask, apparently. It's not how I treat people. It's not how I've lived my life. It's not how I've helped people. It's not how I contribute to society. It's just whether I wear a piece of cloth on my face or not.
That makes me laugh, though, because people are always like, I don't understand how someone can be in a gang, and it makes me laugh because it's like people put themselves in gangs. Like, we're in no mask Republican,
Mask
Democrat.
gang.
Yeah, mask gang. But it's just like these kids that in inner cities, a lot of times it's not even by choice, man. Like, their family's part of gang, and that's all that's their role models. Like, that's what they're seeing, and they see that as a way out. And this whole like black people want to stay in the ghetto and just be ghetto and be hood is ridiculous. You ask any black person, no matter how much they gangbang, no matter how much they've been in the hood, if you ask them, would you get out of the hood immediately, they would be like, absolutely. Name one rapper that got rich and stayed in the hood.
I was going to say, time out for a second. I hear all the rap songs that say that the ultimate goal is to get out of the hood and then pull your family out. Yeah. Bring the whole squad up together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's also an issue that sucks because the hood is going to stay the hood, and the reason why is that as soon as one person starts climbing a little higher than everyone else, you just become the target. If you become rich and you decide to stay in that area, you're getting robbed. That's just happened to my uncle 2 days ago. He started his own business. Within 2 days of him doing this, his house was broken into, he was robbed, and they set his house on fire.
These are things we have to be honest about. There's things of the hood and in people that are living in areas of poverty and stuff that are horrible that those people are doing. Yeah. It might upset you that I just said that. Are there problems in society where society may promote certain areas to stay undereducated and things? Sure, I would be open for debate in those things to say that there could be issues like that. But we have to also be honest and realize that human beings have the potential between their ears to unlock their ability to break free from horrible circumstance. But it is their responsibility to do that. Your uncle is trying to break out. He's trying to start his business. He's trying to get going. And it's not the government that suppressed him. It's not the nation. It's not United States of America. It's not that flag. It was the people right around him that said, wait a second, you're starting to do well. We're going to take you down.
Yeah.
That's truthful. You know what I mean? And is there oppression in a nation? Sure, there may be. But if you can't look at the nation and say that we've made extreme progress. We've been trying to, not allow any type of segregation. You cannot selectively, choose someone for a career or college or anything based on the color of their skin, which is how it should be.
Yeah.
If we're going to be the melting pot of the world, we have to offer equal opportunity to the people of the world. But I'll tell you right now, I don't believe in if someone is not willing to work and be a good human being and grow in society and contribute back. I've seen this meme where everyone's standing on different boxes to see over a fence. If you are not, are you going to destroy people around you and not contribute and not work hard and not work on yourself and not reflect and not grow? I don't believe you get to see over the fence the same way. I don't believe the government should just give you a box to stand over the fence. I believe at a certain point there's personal responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't believe you should be suppressed by a government or any system, but I believe it comes down to you. Should the person that's robbed from people and stolen things and harmed people and hurt people their whole life, should they get to enjoy the same quality of life that you do?
Yeah, I agree.
Look in the mirror, dude. Reflect on yourselves. And there's so many examples of people that have come from nothing that have become ultra successful because they start getting it right up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this idea like, well, you know what? America's not great until everyone's on an equal level. I hope they're only talking about not being oppressed by systems, because I'm not letting a criminal, I would not. I would say a criminal that might murder someone or rob someone.
Yeah.
They can go to jail. They can be fined. They can have these sentences, right? And good contributing members of society should be able to raise through the ranks. Any skin color, any religion, anything like that.
Yeah.
Good. We should promote good people growing, bad people either having to reflect and grow. Because I'm all for prison reform. Let's do a better job at not just incarcerating, but trying to helping people with addictions. Fine.
Yeah.
But bad people and good people shouldn't be put on the same level. They shouldn't.
Yeah,
If you're a
I
bad
agree.
human being, you should be treated more as you know what, you're not really contributing. If we were on an island, if there was 10 of us and one person was trying to kill people and steal things, we'd probably say, we're going to lock you away or we're going to beat your ass. That's how we would handle it. If me, you, and 8 other people were on an island and one person every night stole your stuff, stole my stuff, and wanted to attack or was plotting to kill somebody, we would probably just beat their ass. We'd be like, you're not going to do this. You know what I mean? Or we would do something to make sure that good people were protected from evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the idea that well, you know what? You got to treat that evil person, the same exact way, and you got to make sure he has the same quality of life. No, he's got to not be an evil person. All right? So
we tried so hard. We said before the podcast,
I know.
We're gonna stay
dude,
away
let's
from this. Let's focus on MMA.
let's not get into rants, but 2020 has just been wild. So
Yeah.
with that, you're absolutely right. We should wrap that up. What I want to make sure we end the podcast with is, Dante, I believe you're on the verge of blowing up. How can someone follow your career? What platforms can they follow you on? If someone was looking to sponsor you or wanted to back Dante Brown, how do they do that? And just, anything else that you'd want to say on this video to capture this little moment in time before you're on everybody's television.
All right. Before I do that, you've been bringing this up, and you did say that you wanted me to talk about this on the podcast. Is my mind switch?
Yes, 100%. Actually, so let's go into that, and then I want you to tell all how people can follow you and things like that. Because something flipped in you, and I feel like other people can learn from it.
Yeah. So pretty much throughout my immature career, I told you the story. If I didn't get taken down, a fight was mine. And then pretty much I kind of just still kind of trained like that. I did jiu-jitsu, but I wasn't really taking it that seriously. And I still was I'm not worried about people. I just had that mindset I'm not worried. And then I won my first title, which is cool. And then I lost my last amateur fight to a really good guy. And then I fought him again for my pro debut. And the way he beat me, put a bad taste in my mouth, because it made me remember what it was when I first started doing MMA. On the feet, lighten him up, and then he would get a takedown, and I just had a hard time getting back up. And I remember being backstage, I was like, dude, I've been doing this for how long? And I literally just lost the way I lost my first fight. And I got frustrated, and I was mad at myself, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. We're not repeating this. I was like, all right, he just laid down the blueprint. Everyone and their mom's going to see that fight. I'm going to make sure that anyone that follows that game plan will be punished severely for this. So I just started training. I started coming into jiu-jitsu every day, just cracked out, started wrestling, hitting up every wrestler, just having them ragdoll me every day to get better. And then I started winning all my fights. And then I kind of I went from being this average fighter, this 50-50 fighter, to now people are starting to recognize me and being like, holy crap, dude, you're pretty solid. And then that caused the issue in myself that I didn't think I would have, which is like I've wanted to be at the tops for so long and like be up there with like, you know, the Josh Vigels, the Taylor Moore, the Josh Parisians, you know, the Brandon Nobles and all that. And I started climbing there, and then I was there, dude, and it scared the hell out of me because I was so used to like looking up at the top of the mountain, like those are the guys. And then I was up there with the guys still looking up to see what was up above me, and there was nothing. I couldn't see anything. And I freaked out, dude, and I was going off on everybody. Like, I had issues with you. I had issues with the team. I didn't want no one around me because I didn't know. I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable being successful. Like, and for people that don't understand what I mean, like, if you go from, like, a place that's so low where when I entered this sport, I was, like, a laughingstock. Like, dude, you don't even train, like, blah, 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 blah. And now everyone's like, oh, man, Dante's fight, I have to see that. And, like, that made me uncomfortable, you know? It was like I wasn't prepared for that. So once I was able to just, like, sit down and I talked to you, we had that long talk at Tim Hortons, and you just kind of broke it down. He's like, dude, like, you made it. Like, what are you freaking out about? Like, isn't this what you wanted? And all this other stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like, I do deserve to be here. I worked my ass off, man. Like, it was weird. Like, I just felt guilty for being successful. And it's like, dude, this is what you wanted. So, like, after I realized that and I came to terms with myself and I was able to put my mind in the focus, I just became, like, laser focused on just getting better. I was like, all right, I'm up here with these guys now. I want to see if I can hang. And then, you know, it's in the history books now, dude.
No, you literally shifted to an unbelievable degree. Anybody that's in this academy will know, like, you became this, like, ice-cold killer that trained harder than you've ever trained, that never stops, that never complains about a single drill, bump. You get knocked down, you pop right back up. There's no expression on your face. Like, you it's funny because you're a massive Vegeta fan.
Yeah.
And I kept saying it's like you learned to go Super Saiyan. Yeah. It's like Vegeta struggled with his own psychology so much, you know what I mean? And like he's almost second in line to Goku, second in line. And then, you know, he started to unlock those next levels of power. That's exactly what you did. You made some switches here, and then all of a sudden I've been telling everybody Dante went Super Saiyan, so if you want to fight him, go ahead. You know what I mean? Good luck. If you're gonna look at old tapes of Dante and be like, all right, I'll fight that guy. That's not the guy you're getting.
Yeah, dude. And for so many years I was just fighting off of like raw talent, and I was like, I want to see what I can do when I actually take this serious. Like, I want to see what I do when I show up every day at the gym and I'm training for hours and hours and hours, and the results, I mean, dude, unbelievable.
They speak for themselves. Yeah. Anyone that wants to watch the last couple fights will see the human being that we're referring to. And like I said, I know it's coming. I think it's coming within a year. You're in Japan.
That's crazy.
I believe it happens. And like I said, I'm gonna reach out to Shingo. I'm gonna send him this audio recording. And you know, man, it was just a pleasure to have you here today and really, you know, capture this all. A little bit about life, a little bit about martial arts, belief in yourself, family, just things in general. So, how do people follow you? If someone wants to back your career, just anything you want to say to your fans, your supporters, your family, your team, just anything, and we'll capture this and wrap it up.
So my Instagram is Dante the Hype. My Facebook's just Dante Brown. My fighter page is Dante the Hype Brown. And like, to all my fans, dude, thank you guys. There's so many people that supported me through all this, and I appreciate it. And the level of respect that I'm getting now, it means a lot to me, dude. Like, that's the only thing I've really wanted out of this, is just be seen as a martial artist. Like, I don't want to be a tough guy. I don't want to be any of that. I just want to be a martial artist. Like, this is who I am. This is what I'm made of. You know, I don't have any kids, no girlfriend, nothing. It's just me. Like, I've kind of like gone the samurai route. You know, I've moved away from my family just to do this sport. I love it that much. So that's important to me. So thank you guys. And like, to everybody that doubted me, I guess in your face, homie, I made it. So what's up?
Dude, you're a martial artist. You are a samurai. You're a modern day samurai. Look at my hat I'm wearing.
Yeah.
You're a modern day samurai, as I try to be, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've got a really exciting couple of years ahead of you.
Oh, shout out to Alicia too, by the way, my homie.
Oh yeah, we almost forgot to. Yeah. Alicia Zapatella fighting. Oh my God, we can't announce it. We can't announce it yet.
We'll just edit that out.
I'll take this part off the video. All right, and awesome having you here, Dante. We'll wrap this interview up. We just had to cut a audio section, so if the video skips, don't worry. We had to pull something off the tape, but you guys will find out extremely soon. So thank you again, Dante, and we'll wrap this up.
All right, thanks, brother.